The crystal spires of Nexus Prime gleamed under three suns as the Galactic Coalition celebrated their greatest triumph. In the Grand Assembly Hall, thousands of alien delegates from across the galaxy raised their ceremonial chalices. The war was over. Earth had finally surrendered. Ambassador Marcus Vale sat at the human delegation table, his weathered face showing the weight of defeat. His hands trembled slightly as he signed the final surrender documents. The pen felt heavier than any weapon he had ever carried. Around him, his small team of diplomats stared at the floor, their shoulders bent with shame. "The Terran conflict is officially concluded," announced High Chancellor Vextar, his forearms spread wide in victory. The reptilian leader's scales shimmered with satisfaction. After 12 years of senseless resistance, the humans have finally accepted reality. Laughter echoed through the hall. The Zephyrian delegates clicked their mandibles in amusement. The crystalline Luxari hummed their version of mockery. Even the usually stoic Corvan generals allowed themselves small smiles. "Such a primitive species," whispered General Thane to his aide. "They fought with such desperation, but look at them now, broken and silent." Ambassador Vale heard every word but said nothing. He simply folded his hands and waited. His calm demeanor puzzled some of the alien observers. They expected tears, anger, or pleas for mercy. Instead, the human diplomat sat with an almost serene patience that made several delegates uncomfortable. Far beyond the celebration, in the dark reaches of the Kepler belt, something stirred. Ancient relay stations that had been dormant for years suddenly flickered to life. Deep in the asteroid fields hidden beneath layers of ice and rock, automated systems began their long-awaited activation sequence. Captain Zara Knox floated in the zero gravity of her ship's command center, watching the celebration on her holographic display. The sleek vessel, designation Phantom, was invisible to all known sensor arrays. Its hull absorbed electromagnetic radiation while its engines ran on a frequency that Coalition scanners couldn't detect. "Captain," her communications officer, Lieutenant James Park, turned from his console with barely contained excitement. "We're receiving the Ghost Protocol signal. All stations are going active." Knox nodded slowly. She had waited 3 years for this moment. While the galaxy celebrated humanity's defeat, they had no idea that Earth's true military had never surrendered. The diplomats on Nexus Prime were exactly what they appeared to be: defeated representatives of a broken civilian government. But they were also unknowing decoys in the largest deception operation in human history. "Signal the fleet," Knox commanded. "Operation Silent Dawn is now active." Across the solar system, dozens of hidden installations began transmitting coded messages. Ships that officially didn't exist powered up their engines. Weapons that the Coalition believed destroyed were loaded and primed. The humans had learned a valuable lesson during the war. Sometimes the best way to win was to let your enemy think they had already won. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Vale finally spoke. His voice was quiet, but carried clearly through the vast assembly hall. "The document is signed. Earth accepts the terms of surrender." He paused, looking directly at High Chancellor Vextar. "We thank the Coalition for their mercy." The words sent another wave of satisfied murmurs through the alien delegates. They had expected more resistance, more drama. This quiet acceptance felt almost anticlimactic. What they didn't notice was the slight smile that touched Vale's lips for just a moment. He knew something they didn't. The surrender he had just signed was real, but it only applied to Earth's civilian government and official military. It said nothing about the shadow fleets, the hidden colonies, or the underground resistance networks that had been preparing for this moment since the war began. Dr. Patricia Cross, Earth's former chief scientist, watched the ceremony from her hidden laboratory beneath Luna's surface. Her team had spent years developing technology that the Coalition couldn't detect or understand. Stealth systems, quantum communication networks, and weapons that defied conventional physics. "Phase 1 complete," she said into her secure communicator. "The Coalition believes we're defeated. Begin Phase 2. High above Earth's atmosphere, seemingly abandoned space stations began receiving visitors. Ships that had been hiding in the shadow of Jupiter started their long journey home. The Coalition's victory celebration continued, but in the darkness between the stars, humanity was awakening from its strategic slumber. The galaxy thought it had tamed the humans. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had always been their ability to adapt, to endure, and to strike when least expected. The real war was just beginning. Shadows in the void. 3 weeks after the surrender ceremony, the first Coalition ship vanished without a trace. The cargo vessel Prosperity was carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies when it simply disappeared from all sensor networks. No distress signal, no debris field, no explanation. Admiral Corvin of the Coalition Defense Fleet studied the reports with growing unease. His 6 eyes focused intently on the holographic display showing the ship's last known position. The Krillian officer had fought in dozens of campaigns, but this felt different. Wrong. "Any word from the search teams?" he asked his aide, Commander Nilax. "Nothing, sir. It's as if the ship never existed. The only trace we found was this." Nilax activated a secondary display showing a small metallic fragment. "Our analysts can't identify the material. It doesn't match any known human or Coalition technology." Corvin's mandibles clicked with frustration. Earth was supposed to be broken, their military disbanded. Yet something was hunting Coalition. Ships in the void. Meanwhile, Captain Zara Knox observed the search efforts from her hidden position near the Titan station. Her ship, the Phantom, remained completely invisible to Coalition sensors. Through encrypted channels, she received updates from her scattered fleet. "Target neutralized and crew evacuated to Safe Harbor Station," reported Captain Miguel Santos from the stealth ship Wraith. "Coalition vessel disabled but intact as ordered." Knox nodded with satisfaction. The Ghost Protocol wasn't about destruction. It was about sending a message. Every Coalition ship they disappeared was actually captured intact, its crew safely relocated to hidden human facilities. The aliens would eventually be returned unharmed, but not before humanity had thoroughly studied their technology and gathered intelligence. "Excellent work, Santos. Proceed to your next target coordinates." Back on Nexus Prime, High Chancellor Vextar convened an emergency session. The Grand Assembly Hall, which had recently echoed with celebration, now buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from dozens of species demanded answers. "How can ships simply vanish?" demanded Senator Quicks of the Aquatic Federation. Her gill slits fluttered with agitation. "Our merchants are afraid to travel the shipping lanes. Perhaps it's pirates," suggested General Thane, though his voice lacked conviction. "The outer systems have always been dangerous." "Pirates don't make ships disappear completely," Corvin interjected as he entered the hall. "This is something else, something organized and technologically advanced." Ambassador Vale sat in the human section listening quietly. His face showed appropriate concern, but inside he felt a surge of pride. The plan was working perfectly. The Coalition was starting to fear the shadows, just as intended. Dr. Patricia Cross monitored the situation from her lunar laboratory. Her quantum communication array allowed her to coordinate with hidden human facilities across the galaxy. The network they had built during the war years was finally being put to its intended use. "Phase 2 is exceeding expectations," she reported to the Shadow Council, Earth's secret governing body. "Coalition shipping is down 30%. Their patrol routes are becoming predictable as they try to protect their remaining vessels." "Any sign they suspect the truth?" asked Director Benjamin Hayes, the Council's military coordinator. "None. They still believe we're a broken civilization licking our wounds. The beauty of the Ghost Protocol is that it makes us look like victims, ourselves. Mysterious disappearances could be happening to human ships too, as far as they know. In reality, human vessels moved freely through space using corridors mapped by their stealth fleet. Ancient jump gates, thought destroyed during the war, had been secretly repaired and hidden with advanced cloaking technology. Humanity had created an invisible highway system right under the Coalition's nose. The disappearances continued with clockwork precision. A patrol ship here, a transport there, always in different sectors, always without witnesses. The coalition began pulling their forces back to core systems, abandoning the outer territories they had fought so hard to control. Captain Knox received her next set of orders during a routine supply transfer near Jupiter's red spot. The mission parameters made her smile grimly. It was time to escalate. "Target is the Coalition research vessel Discovery," she briefed her. "Senior officers. Intelligence indicates they're carrying prototype sensor equipment that might detect our stealth technology. We cannot allow that to reach their home systems." Lieutenant Park studied the tactical display. "That's a heavily defended science ship, Captain. Multiple escort vessels. Which is why we're not going alone." Knox activated the secure fleet channel. "All Ghost units converge on coordinates Delta 7. It's time to show the Coalition what happens when they get too curious." For the first time since the surrender, multiple human stealth ships would operate together. The Coalition was about to discover that Earth's defeated military was not only intact, but had been preparing for this moment for years. Admiral Corvin stood on the bridge of his flagship, unaware that invisible predators were moving through the darkness around him. He had spent weeks trying to solve the mystery of the vanishing ships, never suspecting that humanity's greatest victory would come not through open battle, but through the patient manipulation of fear itself. The shadows in the void were growing, longer, and humanity was just getting started. The Coalition research vessel Discovery never saw the attack coming. One moment it was conducting deep space surveys with its escort fleet. The next moment its systems began failing one by one. Captain Knox's coordinated strike had disabled 3 ships simultaneously without firing a single visible shot. "Quantum, disruption fields activated," reported Lieutenant Park from the Phantom's bridge. "All target vessels are dead in space, life support intact." Knox watched as her sister ships, Wraith and Spectre, moved like ghosts around the disabled Coalition fleet. Their crews would be extracted within the hour, the ships thoroughly examined, and any useful technology integrated into humanity's growing arsenal. But this time, something went wrong. Admiral Corvin had anticipated another disappearance. Hidden within the Discovery's escort was his personal command ship, Vigilance, equipped with experimental detection equipment. As the human stealth ships moved in for capture, Corvin's sensors caught a glimpse of something impossible. "There!" he shouted, pointing at his display screen. "Bearing 27 Mark IV. I'm reading energy signatures consistent with active camouflage systems." Commander Nelax leaned over the console, his multiple eyes widening. "Sir, those readings suggest ships of considerable size, at least cruiser class, possibly larger. For the first time since the disappearances began, the Coalition had proof that someone was hunting them. More importantly, they had proof that this someone possessed technology far beyond what Earth was supposed to have. Dr. Ethan Cross received the emergency alert in his hidden laboratory aboard Ceres Station. The brilliant engineer had spent the war years developing humanity's most advanced stealth and weapon systems. Now his greatest creations were about to be exposed. The Vigilance got sensor locks on all 3 ships, he reported to the Shadow Council. "Partial only, but enough to confirm we exist." "Recommendations?" asked Director Hayes, his voice tense over the encrypted channel. "We accelerate the timeline. If they know we're out there, we lose the advantage of complete surprise. It's time to show them what human engineering can really do." Captain Knox made the same calculation from her command chair. The age of hidden strikes was ending. Now came the real test of human innovation versus Coalition might. "All units withdraw to Rally Point Omega," she commanded. "And send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them the hunting season is over. It's time for open war." Back on Nexus Prime, High Chancellor Vextar convened another emergency session, but the mood had shifted dramatically. Fear was giving way to anger as the truth became clear. "Humans," spat General Thane. "They've been playing us for fools. Their surrender was a lie." "Not exactly," corrected Ambassador Vale, speaking for the first time since the ceremony. His calm demeanor had vanished, replaced by something much more dangerous. The surrender was real. but it only applied to Earth's official government and military. It said nothing about independent human factions operating in deep space. The hall erupted in outraged voices from dozens of species. Vextar's scales flushed red with fury. "You knew about this deception." Vale stood slowly, straightening his uniform with deliberate care. "I knew that humanity is more than one planet, more than one government. We are an idea that spreads wherever we go. Did you really think surrender documents could contain an idea?" Admiral Corvin entered the hall carrying a data pad with his sensor readings. "The ships we detected were using technology decades ahead of anything in our files. Somehow, while we thought we were winning the war, they were developing weapons we can barely comprehend." Dr. Patricia Cross smiled as she monitored the Coalition's growing panic from her lunar facility. The quantum communication network buzzed with activity as human installations across the galaxy received new orders. The time for hiding was over. "Begin Phase 3, she announced. "Reveal the fleet." Across human space, concealed shipyards opened their massive doors. Vessels that had been built in secret during the long war years emerged from asteroid hollows and planetary rings, ships incorporating technology that the Coalition had never seen, powered by engines that bent spacetime itself. Captain Knox stood on the bridge of humanity's newest flagship, the Defiant. Unlike the stealth ships that had carried out the Ghost protocol, this vessel was designed to be seen. Its hull gleamed with quantum-forged armor, its weapons charged with antimatter that human scientists had learned to harness during their years of supposed defeat. "Coalition fleet detected at the edge of the system," reported her new tactical officer, Commander Lisa Torres. 47 ships, including 6 dreadnoughts. "Signal the fleet," Knox ordered. "All ships decloak. Let them see what humanity has built while they thought we were broken." One by one, the human vessels became visible. Sleek destroyers with impossible angles, carriers launching fighters that moved like living things, and battleships that dwarfed anything the Coalition had ever constructed. Admiral Corvin stared at his sensors in disbelief. "How many ships?" "Over 200, sir," whispered Commander Nelax, "and more appearing every second." The hunt had begun, but now the roles were reversed. Humanity had spent years learning to be the perfect predator. Now the Coalition The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity's true strength was revealed. What the Coalition had thought was a broken civilization was actually an underground empire that had been growing stronger during every day of their supposed defeat. General Patricia Stone emerged from the shadows of Earth's deepest bunkers, her uniform bearing insignia that no Coalition intelligence service had ever seen. As the true commander of humanity's military forces, she had spent 12 years preparing for this moment. "Citizens of Earth," she broadcast across all human colonies, "the masquerade is over. Today we reclaim our place among the stars." Deep, beneath Earth's surface, massive elevator platforms rose from hidden shafts. Cities that had been built in secret during the war years came online. Millions of humans who had been listed as casualties were alive and working in underground facilities that stretched across entire continents. Captain Knox received her new orders aboard the Defiant. The mission was ambitious beyond anything attempted before: simultaneous strikes on Coalition military installations across 7 star systems. "General Stone wants us to demonstrate that human technology isn't just advanced," Knox explained to her senior staff. "She wants us to show them it's so far beyond their understanding that resistance is pointless." Commander Torres studied the tactical displays with professional admiration. "The quantum jump drives will let us hit all targets within minutes of each other. They'll never see it coming." Dr. Ethan Cross had outdone himself with the jump drive technology. Unlike the Coalition's slower-than-light engines, human ships could now fold space around themselves, appearing anywhere in the galaxy almost instantly. It was technology born from desperation during the darkest days of the war, perfected in secret laboratories while the galaxy celebrated humanity's defeat. Admiral Corvin stood in the Coalition's primary war room, staring at reports that made no sense. Human fleets were appearing simultaneously in systems thousands of light-years apart. Ships that should take months to travel between stars were somehow coordinating attacks in real time. It's impossible, he muttered to Commander Neelax. The laws of physics don't allow for instantaneous travel across galactic distances. Apparently, human laws of physics are different from ours, Neelax replied grimly. Sir, we're receiving surrender offers from 17 different coalition installations. They're all saying the same thing. Human forces appeared without warning and disabled their defenses before they could respond. High Chancellor Vextar watched his empire crumble from his fortress on Nexus Prime. Each report brought worse news. The humans weren't just attacking military targets. They were systematically demonstrating technological superiority that made the coalition look primitive by comparison. How long have they had this technology? He demanded of his science advisors. Based on the sophistication, they must have been developing it throughout the entire war, replied Chief Scientist Mordex, which means every battle we thought we were winning, they were actually gathering data and improving their designs. The revelation struck the coalition leadership like a physical blow. They hadn't been fighting a desperate enemy. They had been unwitting test subjects in humanity's largest research project. Ambassador Vale stood before the coalition assembly one final time, but now his quiet demeanor carried a very different meaning. Behind him, holographic displays showed human fleets in positions of power throughout coalition space. You asked how we could surrender and yet remain strong, he said calmly. The answer is simple. We never surrendered our minds, our creativity, or our determination to survive. While you celebrated victory, we built a better future. Dr. Patricia Cross activated the quantum communication network for its most important broadcast yet. Every human facility, every hidden colony, every secret installation came online simultaneously. Fellow humans, she announced, 12 years ago we faced extinction. Today we stand as the most technologically advanced civilization in the galaxy. We didn't win through conquest. We won through intelligence, patience, and the refusal to accept defeat. The coalition's greatest mistake had been assuming that military defeat meant the end of human progress. Instead, it had freed humanity from the burden of defending static positions and allowed them to focus entirely on innovation and improvement. Captain Knox watched as coalition fleets across the galaxy began powering down their weapons. Not in surrender, but in recognition that further resistance was pointless. Human technology had advanced so far beyond coalition capabilities that the conflict was no longer between equals. General Stone, she reported over the secure channel. Coalition forces are standing down in all sectors. They're requesting negotiation terms. Stone's response came back immediately. Terms are simple. Full recognition of human sovereignty over all systems we currently occupy, and technological exchange agreements that benefit both sides. We're not conquerors. We're the neighbors they should have been working with all along. The underground cities began opening their doors to the surface. Millions of humans who had spent years in hidden facilities emerged blinking in natural sunlight. Children who had been born in secret were finally free to see the stars their parents had fought to reclaim. Admiral Corvin received his final orders from a coalition leadership that finally understood the scope of their miscalculation. All ships are to maintain defensive positions only. Do not engage human forces under any circumstances. We are no longer at war. We are negotiating our survival. The galaxy had learned a fundamental truth about humanity. They were not a species that could be conquered or contained. They were a force of nature that grew stronger under pressure, more innovative in adversity, and more determined when faced with extinction. The revelations of human power were complete, but the real lesson was just beginning. 6 months after the Great Revelation, the galaxy looked very different. The crystal spires of Nexus Prime now hosted a very different kind of gathering. Where once the coalition had celebrated humanity's defeat, now representatives from hundreds of worlds came to witness the signing of the Galactic Cooperation Accord. Captain Zara Knox stood at the helm of the Defiant, now serving as humanity's flagship for peaceful missions. The ship that had once revealed human military might was now escorting diplomatic vessels and trade convoys. But everyone knew the weapons were still there, a quiet reminder of what humanity could do if threatened again. Status report from all sectors. Knox requested from her bridge crew. Commander Torres consulted her displays with satisfaction. Trade routes are operating at full capacity. The quantum highway system is handling civilian traffic from 17 different species. No incidents reported. The quantum highway system had become humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. What had once been military technology for instantaneous travel was now shared freely, connecting distant worlds in ways that had never been possible before. Travel that once took months now took minutes. General Patricia Stone walked through the halls of New Geneva Station, humanity's first open diplomatic facility. The underground commander had traded her hidden bunkers for transparent meeting rooms, where species from across the galaxy could work together on projects that would have been impossible just months earlier. The Zephyrian delegation has agreed to share their atmospheric processing technology, reported her aide, Colonel David Kim, in exchange for access to our medical nanotechnology. Stone nodded approvingly. This was how progress should work, through cooperation rather than conquest. The war years had taught humanity many things, but perhaps the most important lesson was that survival meant building bridges, not walls. Dr. Ethan Cross stood in his new laboratory aboard Luna Station, but this facility was very different from his wartime hiding place. Now his workshops were filled with scientists from dozens of species, all working together on projects that combined the best ideas from across the galaxy. The Corvin engineers have solved the power distribution problem, he announced to his mixed species team. Combined with our quantum field generators, we can now provide unlimited clean energy to any world in the galaxy. His Aquatic Federation colleague, Dr. Riefna, rippled with excitement. This technology could transform desert worlds into gardens, ice worlds into paradises. We're not just sharing knowledge, we're reshaping reality itself. Ambassador Marcus Vale had returned to diplomatic service, but his role had changed dramatically. Instead of negotiating surrender terms, he now worked to establish colonies where humans and aliens could live and work side by side. The joint colony on Kepler 442b is exceeding all expectations, he reported to the Galactic Council. Human agricultural techniques combined with Luxari crystal technology have produced crop yields 3 times higher than either species could achieve alone. Admiral Corvin had also found new purpose. The former hunter of human ships now served as joint commander of the Galactic Defense Fleet, working alongside human officers to protect trade routes and peaceful colonies. It's remarkable, he confided to Commander Nylax as they watched human and coalition ships training together. 6 months ago we were enemies. Now my officers are learning human tactics while theirs study our logistics systems. We're stronger together than either of us ever was alone. High Chancellor Vexitar had initially resisted the changes, but even he had to admit the results were impressive. Coalition worlds that had struggled with resource shortages now thrived, with human terraforming technology. Species that had been isolated by the vast distances of space now communicated instantly through quantum networks. Perhaps, he admitted in a private moment with Ambassador Vale, we should have tried cooperation before we attempted conquest. Vale smiled with the wisdom of someone who had seen both war and peace. Humanity learned something important during our years underground. The strongest civilizations aren't built on the defeat of others. They're built on the success of everyone. Dr. Patricia Cross addressed the galaxy from her lunar facility, but now her message was broadcast openly to billions of beings across countless worlds. The age of scarcity is ending, she declared. Human technology, combined with the knowledge and creativity of our galactic neighbors, has given us the tools to solve problems that have plagued civilization for millennia. Hunger, disease, energy shortages, even the barriers of time and space, all of these can be overcome when we work together. Captain Knox received her final orders of the day as the Defiant completed another successful escort mission. But these weren't military commands. They were invitations to exploration missions beyond the galaxy's edge, joint ventures to discover new worlds and new forms of life. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their refusal to give up and their determination to find better solutions. The species that had been counted out and written off had become the bridge builders of a new age. The silent awakening was complete. Humanity had emerged from the shadows not as conquerors, but as partners in building a future where every species could thrive. The dawn of cooperation had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.